Hello, here I am again on behalf of CETRANS, São Paulo, Centro de Educação Transdisciplinaire, and CIRET, le Centre international de recherche et d'études transdisciplinaires de Paris, and as well of PSA, Plasticité is the Center of Art and Science Research in Paris. And we are going to have very soon, on the 21 and 22 of November, an interesting event about artificial intelligence and human mediations. And as to do so, we are thinking, meeting, discussing 4 major questions. And the first questions to the scientific community is it possible to agree on a definition of human being within a transdisciplinarity perspective? That means to agree in a definition that includes art, science, culture, where we live, traditions, religious traditions. Can we agree on a human definition? And the major point is to, in this human definition, to be able to connect science and philosophy. Because since always, since science is born in the 16th century with physics splitting from church and trying experiments, and very interesting experiments since we discovered that the earth was round and not flat, and all the fight for arguments, demonstrations, scientific proofs went on. We see human beings as objects of study, objects of understandings, objects of research. And this is very interesting because we have a distance in between the human being who is present in front of us, what's going on, what's happening, and what we know about it, what we study about it, and we try to interact with our knowledge and our understanding of this human being. The problem is that for philosophy, each one of us is different, and we cannot accept a general definition of human being. A definition that would say human being is a conscious person, whatever, is an intelligent being, is, take a general definition. It's not possible because each one of us is unique. And there are so many types of intelligence according to God, or according to my friend engineer Leonardo. There are almost 4 types of intelligence, but rational, empiric, intuitive, sensitive. We have a large range of types of intelligence, and some of us are more visual, some act with listening, learning. Our histories are totally different, our gifts are different according to our environment, our interaction, our social, family, affective, spiritual interactions. So there is 3 main questions in philosophy. Who am I? From where I came from, and what is the meaning of my life? Where I'm going? And these 3 main questions cannot be interchangeable. I mean, Paul cannot answer for Peter. Peter has an answer, Paul has another answer, Leonardo has another answer, Margaret has another answer, Frederick has another answer, Florent has another answer. Each one of us will have a human definition proposal because it is an exercise. Who am I? It is a very deep exercise that each one of us has to do. And we cannot answer for the other. We can set some directions. Like, well, let's try to not reduce human being at an object, right? Let's see the subject as is there. Let's consider both sides, the rationalist, empiric approach, you know, about, well, the theoretical approach, the empirical, the experience approach of this human being. But let's see as well how he feels, what he does, how he cares, well, you know, his emotions. Let's feel his energy. Let's dialogue with him. And then we'll have a more interesting approach of who is there, you know? Instead of, for instance, in the medical field, I was talking about with an osteopath, a young girl, and she said, well, sometimes they ask me, how is going the arm of the number 12? And she said, he's not an arm, he's a human being. And this reduction is very, very dangerous. A reduction to a disease, a reduction to a social or racial situation, especially when there is international conflicts now in the world. We cannot put on a war punctual located situation the responsibility to a nation, a whole nation. That is I think, I mean, if a few people do some abominations, that doesn't mean that the whole nation is guilty. You understand my point? It's well, we if we have a definition for Jewish, for instance, and we decide that all Jewish are X or are Y, we are reducing someone to his religious belonging, and we are being very lacking a lot of information about the person that is in front of us, and we are not respecting him or her in his integrity, because he has to be seen not only with the labels we usually put on a person, but with a whole perception of him. His physical, his sociological, his psychological, his spiritual approach, behaviors, faults, etc. So a transdisciplinary definition would be against reductive definitions. That's my first point. Second point, what are the main causes of inhumanity that block evolution in certain zones of our society? And I would like to connect the two questions. When we behave without humanity, we reduct persons. We take them to objects of interest, and our personal or economical or social or psychological interests, and we use them or try to use them as objects that they're not. They're not. They're not sexual objects. They're not objects of any sort. They're people, they're persons, they're subjects of our human dignity. There are rights in our planet. Each one of us is free and has to behave with one another in a spirit of fraternity and dignity. So we cannot use people. And that's very hard, because sometimes we don't do it intentionally. We don't do it. Well, I never act like this. I'm always at service. Yes, but if you really examine yourself and you really take a deep look at your behavior, like I take to my behavior, have I never used someone as an object? Never in my whole life. It never happened. I was always perfectly respectful and perfectly in psychological situations. Never wanted to dominate, never wanted to seduce, never wanted to be the best one. You see, it's more subtle than transforming people into economic slavers that we can observe on certain zones, forgotten zones of the planet. But in a micro scale, there are tiny acts of violence that we can avoid if we are more aware of our behavior or of our faults, of our actions. And how can we develop problem-solving strategy to proper address and those conflicts? Affecting our societies, our organizations through human mediation. So, and can we find a place in the university, a gray zone? These two questions are connected to discuss this problem. So, well, first thing, we have to dialogue together. That we have to learn to dialogue. And in order to dialogue, we have to shift our perspective from a knowing society to a learning society. People who are learning to dialogue together. People who are every day learning to dialogue together. There are some conditions of dialogue, and I find a scheme on LinkedIn from Chip Bell, Marshall Goldsmith, data managers and mentors, that they give us some tips with those I agree perfectly. We have to build a safe environment. We cannot dialogue in the middle of a war. There is no point. We have to end the war and then we dialogue. But in the middle of a war, in the middle of a battle, we cannot dialogue. It's a desperate struggle. We have to stop it, cease the fight, and then we can dialogue. So we have to agree that we have to cease the fight. Then we can shift places and really listen to one another. So build a safe environment for dialogue. Allow disagreement. Once there is a safe place, a safe psychological and sociological and physical safe environment, that means that nobody will attack nobody in his or her integrity, physical or psychologically. Then we can talk. and we can accept different points of views, and we can allow disagreement. I don't agree with you because this and this and this and that. Okay, so, and I don't disagree with you. How can we go to another dimension where we both agree? This zone, this safe zone, I call it a gray zone. It's a zone where neither A, never B are right. We're trying to learn how to think C, how to think in a way that A and B can agree. So we don't have to teach, we have to listen, people. In those gray zones, it's important to learn, to understand, to not dominate the discussion, to ensure that things are going to weigh and be generous, to be humble, to be authentic, to not expect people to behave as we like them to behave, to not, to focus on learning. The only thing I would not agree with Chip Bell and Marshall Goldsmith is that we have to seek answers. We are in a world, as said Bourdieu, every lesson has to be an answer, and we have to seek some answers there. We need some answers, concrete answers, how to live together, how to learn to be together. And I think I gave some directions today. Thank you very much. I'm Mar Thieriot, or Mariana Thieriot-Loisel. I have a YouTube and a Vimeo place where I put my videos and where we can meet from time to time. If you want to, I'll be delighted.